Hello and welcome back to yet another Let's Talk edition with Daniel Mulligan. How's it going, man?
Hey, my man, Buddy Housen, glad to be here with you. And I would love to actually have our show continued. So I'm so glad to hopefully have this wonderful program with you, the Let's Talk edition. Let's get started.
Let's do it. It's been a while since we talked about you and what you're doing with your life and whatnot, the book and everything. So why don't you go ahead and give us some updates about your personal life, like housekeeping stuff?
Oh, interesting. Personal life. Well, when it comes to personal
Well,
things,
personal
obviously
and
things
business.
are personally pretty
I meant
well.
business rather. But all right, go ahead.
Well, let's just say that on the personal life, things are quite wonderful, probably better than they've ever been, probably in a couple of years. So I'm very happy about that. And more importantly, I get the opportunity to make a lot of friends from around the world and expand my social circle. And that's just an incredible opportunity. So I'm very happy about that matter. And with respect to, of course, business, things are going quite well because we have spread out our operations throughout many different countries and continents. So now, pretty much whatever happens to the economies, I don't know if China goes down or America goes up, we're going to go up. If America goes down, China goes up, we're going to win. So I have designed my business plan in a way that I do not have to care which country is going to go up or down. Ultimately, whichever nation goes up, we try to put more eggs in their stocks. And if whichever country goes down, remove our investment in that country, just put it somewhere else. And as you already know me, my philosophy as well as my major motto for my brand is no inner limits or outer borders. And that's because I do not believe in having to put your eggs in all baskets. So things are getting really good, and we're kicking off basically a lot of new projects. So things are going well. Pretty happy about the results so far. And more importantly, I'm very quite happy to be here talking to you and having awesome guys like you around, man.
Awesome. It's good to hear. How about the book?
Well, actually, that's another issue because, as you know, we've been involved in a lot of business. So right now, I finished the first draft. I was in one of my seminars, and one of the attendants asked me, "So,
Nice,
Dan,
nice.
where's your goddamn book? You promised the book to be released. I don't know. It was supposed to be what April or something, and then you
Right.
postponed it one more time. You said I'm going to get my birthday, and then you postponed it. He was really pissed because he
Oh,
was
really?
waiting for that book. I said, "Man, I'm really sorry. I mean, some things happen because I'm an extrovert. You see, that's one of the problems with extroverts is that it is much harder for us to stick with introverted stuff like writing a book than it is to finishing projects or networking or meeting people. So in this regard, the first draft is finished. But as you know, a book
Yeah.
isn't just about the first draft or the main concept. It has to be written and rewritten based upon what Brian Tracy has suggested 5 times.
Right.
He said if you have not revised your book at least 5 times, that book is garbage. Of course, I'm pretty sure that he's exaggerating here, but still, you got to consider the fact that it does take a lot of effort to write a good book. And so for me, I'm going to have to working on rewriting it. And the biggest problem that I have so far is, of course, adding the references because this is a nonfiction book. It's not like a novel where you can just write down whatever you want. I know there are a lot of authors who just write down their stuff, and there's other pretty good books, but I'm not one of those, so I have to actually add a lot of references to support my ideas because we have to borrow from schools of psychology, linguistics, and various other
Right. Right.
classes. So that definitely is very time consuming. And then actually, after a while, when I was working on the book, I then moved on to see how Robert Greene does it because I remember a while back, people asked him a lot, Robert Greene, so when is going to be your next book, which was supposed to be The Laws of Human Nature, by the way, at that time. This was about 5 years ago. And he said, it's done when it's done because I don't want to rush it. And people said, well, if you don't rush it, then probably you're going to fall behind. And he just had a lot of great ideas. So in this regard, I realized that I could just right now, the draft is finished, right? So I'm just going to, post it on Amazon and just get it done already. But I thought maybe that's not going to be a very good start to my writing career because I have never had a book published before. So I thought that I would actually put more into this. However, being me, I'm not a perfectionist. So I know that at some point I will probably have the book will never be complete and there's always going to be a work in progress. So for that reason, now things are fun and I guess there will be no major problem. And I will try my very best, hopefully, to publish the book as soon as possible, given the projects and scales. And right now, of course, I'm trying to promote first the Mulligan method. And not long ago, actually, I had an interview with a Russian TV channel And it was my first TV interview in the Russian language, which is pretty amazing. I've had
Wow.
TV appearances basically before, but they were all in English. This was the first time that I was on TV in Russian. That was pretty incredible. And of course, very challenging because there were a lot of questions being asked. And there's this time, I mean, of course, now my level in Russian right now is close to C2, which means I can basically write a dissertation in Russian. But still, there's a huge difference between learning a foreign language and then performing
Yeah.
basically that language in front of camera. That's a whole different story, obviously, but it was pretty good. So for now, I'm trying to actually promote first, basically my ideas and the Malgin method, because as you know, what's the point of writing a book if there are no readers, right? And the
For
first
sure.
first principle in business is first get the clients, then give them the products. So even though the book has not yet been released, I'm working on it. But I'm more importantly, I'm working on basically sending out the message regarding the book, and to make sure that people understand that there's this cool method by the name of Malgin method. Of course, I don't want to advertise my own method. It seems like pretty like jerkish, but still.
Advertise
And
away,
I
my
would like
man. It's your platform. Do it. Do whatever you want.
Thank you very much, buddy. Thank you very much, basically. And because of this, we just have to somehow let them know about this matter, that this is a great formula. It's probably one of the easiest, fastest, and most efficient ways to learn a foreign language, because I myself, as you know me, I'm an entrepreneur, so I'm pretty busy. Time is something that I do not have a lot of, and it tends to become more and more scarce as the years go by. So I don't have the time to grab a goddamn boring textbooks and just go home do stupid drills. So I want something practical, which is exactly why I created this Mulligan method. And for the time being, of course, even though the book is not published yet, and I'm still working on it, I will try to share more and more of basically the ideas there, and give a preview of that in the upcoming polyglot editions of Beyond the Present
Yep.
podcast. So definitely there's more to come. I will make sure that the quality is maintained. And of course, as soon as I realize the book is basically at a level that it should be, at an appropriate level, and of course, I'll be more than glad to publish it. And hopefully, we're going to make sure that all of our listeners, viewers, as well as followers, will get their hands on a copy.
Excellent. And yeah, it's actually a very challenging task writing a book, especially nonfiction. I don't know about fiction, so I'm not making comments, but definitely nonfiction. I like when like you mentioned, you're an extrovert. I talk to my very introvert friends. I mean, not necessarily introverts, but they're writers, so they're like that's actually their job, and they're saying the same thing. It takes a lot of time, and the first draft is not even close to what you want it to be. So you have
Exactly.
to revise it over and
Exactly.
over again. So
You
so
see,
yeah,
man,
I
if
get it.
introverts have problem with it, just imagine what Daniel's going to do.
Exactly. And speaking of yeah, Mulligan method, although it was not at the time called such, but I can really attest to that. I can. It's a great method. It's I myself am a byproduct of that. I have gone through all of that in person. It's like I think world will appreciate this. The world of language
Thank you
learning.
very much,
So
buddy. It
yeah,
truly means a lot coming from you, especially after our decade-long friendship.
yeah,
I'm truly honored to hear that. And of course, that's exactly what we tried to do. And because the Malden method is about the method of immersion, making it real, making it practical. And of course, you owe it not just to this, but to your own zest and passion, as well as
for
your
sure.
high level of intelligence. I mean, not everybody's going to be a physicist. I mean, come on, let's be honest, man. You got to be super
Thank
smart
you.
for that kind of stuff. But still, generally, I appreciate your compliment. And yes, we're going to work on this. I will make sure that the book is not going to be released unless the quality matches what I expect to be the minimum requirements, because I'm not a professional. So sorry, guys, if you expect the latest blockbuster or like the latest bestseller that's going to change the world standard of writing, sorry, just go to somebody else. I don't know, find someone else. Who was that famous author of Blink? And I
All
forgot
right.
his name.
Yeah.
There was a famous author of the book Blink and many other similar books. He's very famous, actually. I forgot his name. And he was, I forgot his name. And
Yeah. I'm
if you
trying
want
to look for it.
to find really, really
Oh, Malcolm.
cool.
Malcolm Gladwell.
Now, yeah, exactly. That guy
Yeah.
is a pro, man. Like, if you
Yeah.
want, if you want me to write a book like Malcolm Gladwell, then please just hit the road, Jack. Seriously, not going to happen. But I will try my best. At least the book, has that minimum standard international quality for nonfiction guidebooks that it will teach you how to do things. And hopefully, as soon as the book is ready, we'll make all the announcements live and on our podcast.
Excellent. And actually, what we're talking about today is not totally relevant to all the things we talked about in a very general sense. they tie together. And we're going to talk about how you turn an idea or a concept that you have into a business. So a lot of people have lots and lots of ideas about what to do, and like if you do this, it's going to be awesome. But there are sometimes lack of initiative, probably most of the times, and a lot of the times not knowing how to monetize such idea or concepts, or lots of other obstacles that people face to turn an idea into a business and something that they can sell a product or a service, no matter what, and get the cash so they can produce more and let the world use more of what they're producing.
Exactly.
So I think this is a key aspect that we can talk about, and you having done that many times, I thought this is going to be an awesome topic that we can talk about together. So,
What a great choice, man. Great choice. Fantastic.
yeah. So why don't you actually go ahead and mention the few things that you think are the biggest obstacles of turning an idea into a business? So what are the first things that everybody needs to consider, no matter what the idea is, and what are the major obstacles that might come across, no matter what the idea is?
Fantastic. Well, first of all, as you know, my basically motto: no inner limits or outer borders. When it comes to the obstacles, almost all of the major obstacles are always inside of you. That is, deep down inside, a lot of us, we don't believe that our ideas can be monetized because, unfortunately, a lot of us, first of all, lack self-confidence, and secondly, don't have much experience with business as well as entrepreneurship. So we say, well, the idea came from me, so it probably is not worth that much. Why should I even bother pursuing it, right? So the biggest obstacle for most people who cannot turn their ideas into a profitable business is that they don't believe it is possible. I mean, they just don't think that, oh my gosh, well, what if I can literally change it into, find a way to make money from it? I mean, right now we're living in a world where almost any idea can be turned into, a source of income. Almost anyone can make money in any possible activity. Even in the past, I mean, people, our parents used to tell us, like, listen, don't play video games. You can't do anything with that thing. Just study harder, right? Now, some of the highest earning people are just gamers who are putting their stuff on Twitch and YouTube and making millions, right? So the point is, the modern world is built in a way where almost anyone can basically sell whatever idea they got thanks to the power of the internet, and especially social media. This was not possible in the past, 20, 30 years ago. I mean, if you had an idea, you should first call all your family members, then try to tell your friends about it. Try to spread out some flyers and brochures and whatever. Now in the modern world, none of that is necessary. And we're living in a world where that is basically whatever idea you got, you can start reaching people right away, immediately on various social media platforms. Of course, as you know me, I'm a huge fan of LinkedIn. I think the most profitable and the most business-oriented social media is basically LinkedIn, because as you know me, I use basically various platforms. I use Instagram, I use Twitter, but through extensive research as well as the results that we've acquired in our companies in the past few years, I realized the most profitable one actually for making money is ironically LinkedIn, and followed by Instagram, because that also has a huge wide range, especially for retail type of businesses, basically. But in general, in the world where you can reach anyone and just pitch your idea to anyone, there's almost no limit on what you can accomplish. But if you don't believe that's possible, you're never going to do it. I mean, in any area of life, if you really don't believe that by calling enough customers, you're going to get a, yes, you won't follow it. You don't care. You don't bother. And because of that, you need to actually create your own perspective towards life. You need to understand what it really means to basically sell your ideas. And once you believe that you can make money from any idea, then, because we say basically in life, this is from one of my mentors, Mr. Tony Robbins, who says success is 80% psychology and 20% mechanics. And that is exactly why success always begins inside of you. And all of the majority of the obstacles exist within you. Not believing in your idea, that's number one. You believe that your idea is not good enough. Number two, not believing that you can actually make money from that idea. And number three, not having the guts to shoot for your dream and to risk failure. Because let's be honest, even though you can make money from all ideas, not everyone is making money in all industries. I mean, we mentioned earlier about these gamers who are making money on Twitch and YouTube. For every gamer who's profitable on Twitch or YouTube, we have hundreds of thousands who are not making a damn thing, right? For every entrepreneur who's profitable and is making billions, there are hundreds of thousands of bankrupt entrepreneurs who just have to go back getting jobs. So the fact of the matter is that you at some point have to face the reality, and that's when you realize there's competition. And whatever idea you got, the chances are somebody else probably has a similar idea somewhere in the world, and boom, you got it yourself a competition. And once you got a competition, things start to change a little bit, because that's when we have to focus on the mechanics of business, entrepreneurship, marketing, and sales. And that's a whole different, basically, story. But for most of us, the problem really exists within us, in that we don't believe that an idea can be turned into basically making money. And because of this, we just simply don't do anything about it. But if somehow we find that belief that, yes, whatever idea I got right now, I can make money from it, then you will start taking the action necessary to first see the feedback that you're getting. And then only once you get the feedback, then you can actually change the approach. So that's the number one problem. If people learn that they can sell their ideas and they can make money from it, that is, from my perspective, the best way to start the whole process.
So you mentioned, I think I couldn't agree with you more, and it's very universal. No matter what not even turning ideas into business, but no matter what you want to do, I think if it involves some initiative, which almost everything does, if you don't believe in yourself and you don't think you can do it, and that is not to say that you're not going to make mistakes. That is not to say that you're not going to fail. That is to say that, yes, I'm going to fail. Maybe not the first time, or maybe I do. I don't know. It doesn't matter. Failure is going to be along the way, and I'm okay with that. And that's part of the journey. Nevertheless, if you don't accept that and you don't take some beliefs in yourself, there's no way you can actually do anything.
Absolutely.
So I think you actually went even further than just turning ideas into business. Like, that involves any kind of initiative anybody wants to do.
Of course, because it's very important, man. Because of course, when it comes to making money, it's very different, because we're talking about influencing others, right? And I teach this a lot to my friends in various business seminars, and I tell them that you cannot sell an idea if you yourself don't believe in it. And the very best salespeople, or the people who can really influence others with their ideas, because let's be honest, basically making money from your idea simply means getting others to say yes to your idea and to believe in the value that it offers them, and to exchange that value with money. And if you yourself don't believe your idea works, or is the best shit ever, then no one's going to believe you, because you yourself should be the most passionate, the most excited about that idea. Otherwise, nobody will believe in it, right? That's the first step. And unfortunately, a lot of people don't believe in that. I've heard that probably every single one of us, at least a few times per year, on our commute to and from work or office or school, we have one idea that can make us a multimillionaire, but unfortunately, we do nothing about it. This means that right now, to all of our listeners out there, in the past year, you probably have had more than 2 ideas that you thought of traveling to and from work or school that could have made you a multimillionaire, but you probably ignored it. And the reason, as we already mentioned, was because you did not take action. And guess what? I'm at the same time pretty sure that you had this experience. Here's an experience that probably all of us had at some point. At some point, probably, you thought of some idea, maybe like a gadget or an instrument or a service or a business or an app or something. You thought of something cool that should have perhaps helped the society, and you did nothing. Then 2 years later, you saw that the exact same idea is now turned into an app or a product or a service right there on the shelf, and people are buying it. And you said, dude, I thought of that idea 2 years ago. These guys are now making millions from this. Well, guess what? There's a reason why those guys are now put this stuff on the shelves and you got nothing, because they actually took that idea and did something with it, right? And that is exactly why I believe that that beliefs in yourself is very incredibly important. Without it, almost nothing is possible.
For sure. It's actually very funny because when you were talking right now, before you actually mentioned the specifics of, you had an idea and then it turned into actuality later on. Before you said that, it actually came to my mind a conversation that I had with a friend of mine a month ago or thereabouts. And that was the exact same thing that she was telling me, like in multiple occasions. And it was not even 2 years. It was like a matter of weeks or sometimes months. And
You
she was
see
like,
that?
yeah, yeah. I
You
was
see
like,
that,
yeah,
man?
you gotta. And that's another thing. Like, so one thing we were discussing this, and one thing would come up was actually somebody else put this forth, but then they were like, oh, but if you did start, they probably still had a head start on you. And I was like, well, sure, but even if you started after, it doesn't mean that you can't compete. Depends on the, I guess, on the product idea, whatever. But at the end of the day, for many things, you can actually compete or you can
But dude, I mean,
innovate
dude, competition is the very essence of business.
for sure.
Name one product or service that is exclusive.
Yeah, in a free
For
market,
name,
almost
for
nothing.
Facebook, I don't know. For example, for Facebook, there's Twitter, right? I don't know. For Apple, there's Samsung. For what? Name one idea,
Yeah,
one app, one facility, one service, one tourist industry. I don't know. Whatever it is, name one thing that there's no competition in it, right?
yeah,
Every single product, every single idea will, by its very nature, it's the nature of humanity, you will always find competition in whatever you do. And because of this, having an idea and being afraid of the competition and not doing anything with it is just simply silly because you can always compete using the right strategies.
yeah. It's and it so after all that, after seeing so many examples firsthand myself and through so many others, and you mentioning it now, this has become my quote unquote philosophy. In that I say, if you've thought of something, of the 7 billion people on this planet, probably somebody else also has, and it doesn't matter. You just have to still do it if you think it's worthy. And yeah, I don't know. I think we have sometimes a selfish kind of bias that, oh, I thought of this, nobody has, so I can do it later. But that simply is not true. I have yet to see that, and yeah, I just wanted to share that story just in case somebody
Absolutely.
still had some doubts. um,
Okay, that's right.
yeah, and okay, so now how do we or anybody um, overcome this biggest barrier of theirs, and that is self belief, if you will?
Well, let's be honest, man. We have talked extensively about this issue in various episodes of not only the Let's Talk, but in general, the very purpose of personal development. I still remember that day I was in one of my seminars and a young lady asked me, Daniel, you always talk about personal development. What's the point? What is this personal development you always talk about? I don't get it. It was, of course, pretty fun because the purpose of that seminar was not explaining what is personal development because we had absolutely no time. We were short for time. So I couldn't quite fully get the answer. But this is the very purpose of personal development. You see, personal development is something that allows you to transform yourself by changing your belief system, acquiring new experiences to prove your new beliefs, and then making them concrete. That's personal development. And that requires hard work. It requires sacrifice. It requires failure. It requires getting turned down by people. It requires going back and not only making no progress, but actually going backwards and eventually learning from them. The whole purpose of personal development is this, is to develop your self-esteem. I have had many people who come to me. I know a lot of people, a lot of men, some women who came to me years ago who did not believe in themselves, who thought that their ideas were not worth anything, who didn't believe they are good at anything, who didn't feel like they were attractive enough. And now, 4 or 5 years later, they all have great ideas about themselves. Now, these people have not changed genetically. Their ideas have not changed. They are still the same people, the same backgrounds, the same brain, the same intelligence, the same ability. Now, why is it that these people now feel better about themselves than they felt nearly 5 years ago? The answer
They're,
is personal development.
yeah,
And
they're
that
the
is
same
why,
people, yet they're not. Oh.
exactly, that's the whole point, which is why I'm a huge fan of, talking about personal development, because almost all salespeople, as well as entrepreneurs who tend to work in very unstable environments and they face with a lot of, rejections in their work, are so much, they love this stuff and they just go for it. It's because they really understand the point. And the point here is you got to work on yourself. Let's be honest, Pujix, it isn't very easy to just come out of nowhere and just start believing in yourself. Now, some of us
For sure.
are lucky like that. Maybe you were the tough boy in high school and now this happened. Maybe you were the kind of guy who just got into a lot of fights because you thought you were pretty strong, and then this time I gave you something. I have been one of those guys who tend to somehow be a little bit of on the aggressive side in high school. So maybe some of you had this way, like you probably grew up feeling pretty, confident. But most of us, we're not like this. Most of us, we have to actually learn how to become confident through through the process of personal development by trying something new, failing, somehow realizing that failure does not mean the end of it, and eventually pursuing our goals and dreams until we achieve success. And boom, once we get it, we realize, guess what? Maybe I was not such a piece of shit after all. Man, I bought my first car, man. I'm 18 years old and I got my first car. That's cool. And this is the whole point. You see, you want to actually gradually increase the challenges in your life and then try to achieve more to reach that level of self-confidence. But ultimately, it really comes down to believing in yourself and working on yourself. Now, we can talk in extent about how to do this in our future podcasts, but generally, the essence of developing your belief in yourself and your self-confidence is to achieve something. I mean, let's be honest. Now, there are a lot of, trainers, a lot of teachers tell you that, you know what, just believe in yourself. You know what, just look at the window and tell yourself that you're the coolest guy ever. And then say that 25 times per day until you fucking get bored and just stop the whole thing, right? This is not going to work out. Now, there are some who do suggest such things. And of course, they want you to buy their books and training and seminars. And then after it didn't work, go back to more seminars, right? Of course, kind of like, psychotherapy for the most part. It's not like a business. But I want to tell you the reality. No, if you really believe that you are a piece of shit, then I'm sorry. Telling yourself you're not a piece of shit is not going to change anything, because you believing that you're a piece of shit is now a part of your subconscious mind. It's deeply down inside of your, a subconscious, and now it's a rooted behavior. So the only way that you can change the subconscious mind is, number one, to give yourself time. That is, genuine self-esteem takes a long time to be changed. It doesn't happen overnight. Now, I'm sure there's a lot of these, cool seminars like, in one day transformation, we're going to become someone new. Oh! I mean, these things, we have a lot of these crap, of course. That's one of the reasons why a lot of people tend to be skeptical about the whole personal development thing, because we see a lot of these, shitty stuff. But the point is, genuine self-esteem, it takes a long time to be changed, because you really need to do a lot of things that at first you're scared shitless about, and keep doing them poorly until you get some shitty results, and then tolerate those shitty results and keep trying again until you get slightly less shitty results, and then keep tolerating that pain and without giving up, keep going until you keep trying and you get slightly now even less shitty results, and you keep this process until someday you get good results. And only then the subconscious mind says, wait a minute. For the past 25, 30, 20, 12, 40, 55, 60 years of my life, I believe that I was a piece of shit. But if I am a piece of shit, then how come I could get these results? Maybe I was wrong. And boom, that's when you start to gradually question your false assumption about your value. And boom, that's when you begin developing your self-esteem. So I'm not going to teach you some of those woo-hoo techniques of just say, for 5 hours every day, and then say, I'm so good. This bullshit's not going to work out. Instead, what I can tell you to do is set a goddamn goal that you think you don't deserve. Try to take action. Fail like an idiot again and again and again. Tolerate being an idiot without giving up. Analyzing the feedback of the stupid results you get, and keep trying to make them less stupid and less stupid and less stupid, and boom, genius results. Congratulations, you're now a genius. You've just transformed yourself from an idiot to a complete genius that is a source of joy and pride for a lot of people. So understand, we all have to go through this. If you want me to give you one wizard key of like, say this phrase and now you'll be confident, sorry, that's not going to happen. You need to actually get your hands dirty. Success requires you get your hands dirty. Confidence requires you to take a lot of risks that you might not even want. I remember some of the risks I used to take. Of course, not now. Now it is pretty much almost nothing scares me. But when I was, let's say, for example, 15 or 16, some of the risks I would have taken back they would have like shake my whole body. I'm not kidding, man. Like would have shaken my whole body. But this now seems like a joke, right? The same thing can happen to you as well. That is, you can actually try to take action by facing those fears. Like, should I actually go and call a company and share them my idea? Beep, beep, hello? Hi. This is Johnny, and I have some. Oh my gosh, they hung up on me. How dare they are? Sorry, that's called entrepreneurship. That's called sales. This happens all the time. And guess what? Now you're first going to get depressed for a couple of days. Don't worry about it. You're going to get okay. Go get depressed. Come back after 3 days. Oh my gosh, I can't believe these guys don't believe my ideas. Let me call the next company or the next guy. Boom, boom, beep, beep. Hello, how can I help you? Hi. I have an idea. Oh, really? What's the idea? No, goodbye. Beep. Oh my gosh, they still don't listen to me, right? But guess what? You made a progress here. What happened? You can actually say fucking 3 words now this time, unlike last time. Good job. Keep going. Keep calling. But guess what? Not everybody keeps calling, right? Now, the same thing, of course, funny little story, but this is exactly the essence of success. That is, entrepreneurs and those people who can turn their ideas into means of profit, because that's really what, entrepreneurship is all about. There's nothing, crazy about entrepreneurship. An entrepreneur is someone who can convert an idea into a source of income by getting enough people to believe that that idea is worth value. And then they get them to exchange that value with money. And ultimately, we're talking today about entrepreneurship. And entrepreneurship is not just a science, but also an art, which means it does require you to get good at it, to practice your creative essence, and to somehow become the kind of person that you are willing to take the kind of risks that you need to take to achieve your goals. So ultimately, that's life. And because of this, you have to understand that progress should be made step by step. You're not supposed to immediately turn your idea into a source of income. Now, there are faster ways around it. For example, if you have an idea, but you've never been an entrepreneur, then you can join forces with an entrepreneur who's already doing business, who's already profitable, and say, guess what? Let's become partners. Now, you will then be able to somehow combine the experience of that entrepreneur with your idea, and boom, now you can make the progress that you would have made on yourself probably in 10 years in a matter of 10 days or 10 weeks. And that's exactly what's happened. So if you want to if you really are scared of selling your idea or something, don't worry. Find a partner. You don't have to do it alone. And guess what? Nothing happens alone. I have worked as an entrepreneur for almost more than probably 15 years now. And I can tell you this, no shit happens alone. Everything I've ever had was because of partnership of some kind. The idea of a solopreneur is a total myth. The only solopreneurs I know are broke and have no money. So understand that just because you have an idea, no one expects you to do it alone by yourself, man. Get a team, get a partner, better yet, get 10 partners, bring a lot of people on board, get them involved with a project, because 2 brains work better than 1 and 10 work even better than 2. So why don't you just, create a team here now, because that way you can share your ideas. And that is why I'm a huge fan of basically building teams, because I believe that I myself, I'm one guy, and there are a few things that I'm pretty good at, probably, I don't know. But there are a lot of things that I know shit about. I mean, I'm pretty sure right now, I'm probably right now, Pujix, but you are the producer of the show. But dude, I can never compete with you in terms of the knowledge of, technology and the internet and, I don't know, tech and anything, super geeky or super nerdy. Because, dude, you're fucking smart. I cannot compete with you, man. But guess what? We're in the same team, which means all of your knowledge of technology and science can be combined with, let's say, my knowledge of business, and boom, now we got a team here. Things can go much faster, which is why I believe that you should not be insecure about your basically weaknesses. Yes, it's true. Daniel Moggan has a lot of weaknesses when it comes to, let's say, I don't know, programming or website designs or basically anything technology related. But guess what? Once he's teamed up with Pujix, he doesn't have to worry about anything, because this guy's going to handle all of it. Why? Because he's damn good at it, right? So the same thing applies to your ideas. Maybe you have a lot of great ideas, but you don't know how to implement them. Well, find a guy who is good at implementing, but is not very good at creating ideas. Because let's be honest, some guys are like this. Like, you can just give them any task, they do it. But they have a problem. They can't create. They don't say what to do. You just got to tell them what to do, right? So because of this, you need to understand that another important factor in converting your ideas into a source of business and an income is to join force with other profitable entrepreneurs who are already in business. Because let's be honest, man, it takes a long time to get good at sales. It takes a long time to get good at, closing deals. It takes a long time to get good at, pricing. And you need to develop that, instinct. So there are right now a lot of entrepreneurs who got a lot of cash and are willing to invest in your idea or business if they just hear your name and know your idea. But guess what? How can you do that? You got to first believe in yourself. Then you know, all right, this guy's got some money. He's an entrepreneur. He's ready to invest. Let's go hit this guy up. And guess what? Do you think the first investor that you will call will say, oh, yeah, oh my gosh, I've been waiting for your idea for 10 years. I'm so happy that you're here. Of course. And they say, what the fuck? Get the fuck out of here, man. Beep. Gone, right? So, sorry, that's life. It's called the numbers game. It's called the sales funnel. In all social matters, life goes through a funnel. You approach 10, for example, people. From those 10, 5 of them actually will look at your eyes. From those 5, 3 of them will listen to your idea. From those 3, maybe 1 take a flyer. Now, from all this will take flyers. Will they buy your stuff? No. Maybe, for example, 3 of them will buy it. Most will not. It's called the sales funnel. And all social matters, whether it's to find an investor or to find a client or to find, the love of your life or to find the best partner or to find the best school to take your children, whatever it is, it goes through that funnel. And you want to know exactly how it goes there. So ultimately, this is why I believe in the power of getting teams and not doing it alone. The idea of a successful solopreneur is a total myth. The number of successful solopreneurs that I personally know are between 0 and none. They don't exist. So get a team, get a lot of people on board, share your ideas with them. But of course, since we start by yourself, you obviously want to get, the partners that you trust, obviously. You don't want to just go randomly out shout in the world, like, oh, I got a great idea. Boom, they're going to steal your idea, right? So first share with the people that you trust and then create a team because that'll help you a lot to be able to turn and convert your idea into an actual business because business is nothing more than a team of people who work on an idea to serve people with their products or services.
Well, by no means we have exhausted this topic, and there's lots to talk about, and there's little time. So I guess we can leave this topic at this point where we are. Of course, we will have these conversations. There's a bunch of people who have already been on the podcast, such as our latest guest, Deep, if you recall. We had good conversation about UFOs, but we didn't get to talk about. He's an excellent entrepreneur and technologist, and I'm sure we're going to have episodes with other people as well, so we can continue this whole phenomena there. But to come back to the idea, to the point of getting past yourself and self doubts, I think the one thing that I'm going to be wanting to add on what you just said is essentially you have to be a skeptical person. You have to accept that you don't know everything, and you're willing to take a second look at things that you think you do know. And that's the only way people change. There's just no other way. So yeah.
So true.
If there's anything left that you want to make a final comment on, go ahead.
For sure. First of all, I want to thank you so much for sharing such a great topic. I think it's going to help our listeners a lot, basically. And ultimately, any idea can be turned into a source of income, and any idea must be turned into a source of income if it is to last and to serve a lot of people. Now, someone's like, well, I just do this as a hobby. I just want people to know. I just enjoy doing it. Well, I'm sorry. If you're not paid for what you do, eventually you will have to somehow make a living, right? And then eventually you'll stop doing this and you'll do things that you don't like as much. So you might as well start making money from the things you love doing. And that means you need to actually find ways to turn your passion into a profession. I've always said this, on podcasts, social media, basically in events. You got to turn your passion into a profession. Because if you don't do that, then you will never be passionate about your profession. There's going to be like a boring job. You have to go, I got to make ends meet, right? And guess what? If you ever do that, you probably will never, ever reach the top of your field. Because people who are at the top of any field are there because that field or that job or that career or that, business is their passion. And guess what? It is very hard to beat someone who is passionate about his or her job at their field. It's never going to happen. So you might as well do this right now and ask yourself, what is my passion? Then ask yourself, how can I find a way making a living doing that thing? Whether it is to start a business, whether it's to start to advertise it, whatever it is, you want to look at the aspects of it and understand that turning an idea into a dream, into a business that you really dream to have in your life, that itself is going to take you through a lot of difficulties, which means the essence of that is belief in yourself and belief in your idea and that the fact that it can work. But is that enough? Is having a belief all that it takes to somehow achieve your goal? Of course not. You got to take action. Now, when it comes to taking action, you got to know, what should I do? And guess what? If you're right now starting out as a new entrepreneur with a new idea, you do not have to do it all by yourself. Get a team. Find someone who is more experienced than you are in the field that you are, and then try to join forces. This is going to allow you to somehow use their experience. And of course, your ideas will contribute to their basically help. And this is going to create a team. And understand this. Successful ideas are rarely turned into profitable businesses alone. Usually that idea is shared and worked on by many people in a team made of individuals who trust each other, who work together very well, and who turn that idea into a way of serving others. And only then the money starts pouring in. So focus on that element as well and try to get a team. Don't do it alone by yourself. Grant Cardone says the biggest mistake he made, probably the biggest mistake he made in his entire career, was that he started building a team way too late. He was doing it all by himself until the age of 40 or something, 44, I believe, or 45. And it's been less than about 15, 20 years where he actually began building a large team. And that, for him, was the reason why he's not a billionaire right now. And that's the thing that he really is upset about, is that he said, if I went back, the first thing I would have done, I would have definitely built a large team, because that way his net worth would have now exceeded $1 billion. Now it's not. And why? Because he did not build a good team, right? So please try your best. Try to actually go for teams. Don't do it alone. If you probably have some, creative idea, the chances are you're a little bit, eccentric. And oftentimes it's hard to be in a team if you find yourself to be superior to others. But please just hold a goddamn, hold on to your goddamn ego and just try to build a team. That'll help both of you and the entire team. And hopefully you'll be able to, make a great business. So get a team and then try to take action to turn an idea into a business, knowing that almost any idea in the modern world can be turned into a service or a product and can be advertised for free on social media. So take advantage of this opportunity.
And as always, thank you, Dan, for joining us.
Thank you so much. And I would like to appreciate the fact that you're here all the time and being a great producer of the show, choosing great topics. And I heard a lot about some of our future plans, maybe regarding the website for the basically for the podcast. So I truly appreciate all the effort you're putting in, man.
It's coming. It's coming. Just wait for it, guys. Just wait for it. We'll do a lot more.
That was a sneak peek, guys. Stay tuned. That's right. We got a new website coming. Oh yeah, that's right.
Lots of stuff overall. And thanks, as always, for our listeners for tuning in. We love having you. We love listening to your comments and feedbacks and what you want to hear, etc. Until another later episode. Have a great one. Bye-bye.